Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And we invite very intelligent, very learned people on to help us. And so that's why today I'm very excited. We have Rocco Carriero. Did I say that right, Rocco?
You could pronounce it Carrero. That's how a lot of people
Carriero.
pronounce it. It's an Italian name. There's different versions of it that you hear here in the United States.
And it's the sad thing about that, listeners, is that I ask people on the intake form exactly how I should pronounce their name. And then, I screw it up anyway. So he's a comprehensive wealth advisor. He specializes in networking. We might have to cut this whole beginning off. He's all right. Rocco Carriero is a comprehensive wealth advisor specializing in working with business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs like us. He is a chartered retirement planning. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. He's a chartered retirement. Do you want to read it?
I can help you out, read it if you want me to.
We'll get it down between the two of us. Okay. He's a chartered retirement planning counselor. He's an accredited portfolio manager advisor, and he holds an MBA in banking and finance with over 20 years of experience. Rocco has been on Fox, NBC, and his financial insights have been featured in publications including the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune, Wealth Management Magazine, as well as many other local and regional publications. Rocco is a member of the Columbus Citizens Foundation, and he served on the board of directors of the American Heart Association, Southampton Business Alliance, East End Hospice, and Westhampton Beach Performing Arts Center, which sounds like a really fun volunteer opportunity. And he serves as the vice president of Integrated Medical Foundation. Rocco lives and works in Eastern Long Island, New York, which you'll hear a little bit from his accent, and his wife, Heather, and he'll say, I have the accent. And he has with his wife, Heather, and their two children, Ella and Luca. Rocco, thanks so much for being with us today.
Christine, I'm excited to talk with you today. Thank you for having me.
Me too. And I just want to tell everyone who's listening how incredibly nice and patient and kind Rocco is. I already want to work with him because he's been just very nice to me already, and we haven't even started the podcast yet.
Thanks. That's something that I work on, is my emotional intelligence and understanding that So I think that's something that we never become perfect at, for sure.
Well, it's definitely working. What you're doing is working. So Rocco, is this something that you've always been, if you've always been interested in money and finance and helping people to achieve their financial goals?
I would say I have always been interested in helping people. That's been, from a young child, always interested in helping people. To this day, still like to help people, help our clients. I'm always looking for other people to help, community organizations. So helping others is definitely one of my 5 values that I value very much. As I got older, then I thought about my career path and saying, well, what am I going to do for work in my life? And I had interest in entrepreneurship and making money, and investing. And so I decided that I was going to study to become a financial advisor and use my skills to help people through the use of finance. And that's 25 years later. Here I am. It's been a great career, for sure.
Fantastic. And I can tell from your resume or from your bio that you definitely care about helping your community. You're obviously involved in a lot of different activities, and the fact that you felt strongly about those and want to put them on your bio, it just really speaks a lot about your personality, which is nice.
Yeah, it's been a great experience working with all those organizations.
So Rocco, how is it different helping an entrepreneur to do financial planning compared to sort of your garden variety person with a W-2 type job?
Yeah, that's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that question. So now we know it's a really great question. So no, it's a terrific question. And so the mindset of the entrepreneur is different than somebody that may be a W-2 employee. Most W-2 employees have consistent income, week in, week out, month in, month out. a entrepreneur may see major variabilities and swings with income, with assets, with cash flow, with you name it. There's a lot more variability that ties in with an entrepreneur than somebody that might be a W-2 employee.
And I would think that part of the beginning would be just getting a handle on that cash flow, right? I mean, it sounds silly to people who have a sort of a day job, but as entrepreneurs, we often don't really know what our bottom line is. We don't even know how much money we're making. Am I profitable? Because there can be those ebbs and valleys.
A lot of entrepreneurs don't know how much money they make. They don't know how much money they spend. People that tend to have a W-2 income stream usually do have a better pulse of their inflows and their outflows, how much they make each week, how much they spend per month, how much is left over at the end of the month. And many times that's the first area we start with an entrepreneur, is really understanding how much you actually earn and how much you actually spend. That's an important piece in developing a financial plan.
And do you find, I mean, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself. And what I hear a lot from people is that my business is my retirement plan. I don't need a retirement plan, right? This is it. This is where all my money is going to go. And when I'm dead, that's when I'll stop working.
Very much the classic case for, I would say, for a lot of business owners. And the reality of it is that I would consider that to be a very risky financial plan, meaning that if things don't work out for one's business, and if it doesn't work out later in life, you've got a problem, because what are you going to retire on? So if it works out for people, great, but there's always the what if. And there's a lot of other things that business owners can do as they're growing their business and growing their revenue to prepare for retirement in the event that their business becomes a non-saleable asset at some point down the road.
And do you help clients to sometimes prepare their businesses for sale, or at least start to think along those lines? Because obviously getting the finances clarified is a big piece when you're thinking about that you might someday want to sell your business.
We do. We help business owners right from the beginning, and we help them actually carve off X amount of dollars for themselves. And the best way to think of it is, if you put 10 dimes on the table, a lot of newer business owners, they'll spend if they've earned 10 dimes, they'll spend 11 to 12 dimes. And so they'll spend everything plus borrow and spend that too, not on ridiculous items, but just covering their costs to operate their business.
Yeah.
And what we coach our clients to do is we tell clients, okay, if you have 10 dimes on the table, that first dime is for you. The other 9 is for your taxes, your insurance, and your employees, and everything else that comes along with your business. And we like for them to start with, even starting with two pennies of every dollar. So if you have 100 pennies on the table, 2 pennies are for you. Most business owners don't even carve off, nationwide. They don't even carve off the 2 pennies. There was a successful restaurant deli type business that they had multiple locations. They grossed like $6 million in gross revenues. And he was saving about $10,000 per year. And it was like, wow, so you're grossing like almost 6 million and you can only save $10,000 per year. I'm like, where does the other 5,990,000 go? And he's like, I don't even know. And so that person would really be better off working in a local deli in the Hamptons where they pay people $45 an hour to make egg sandwiches.
Right. It's true. The first small business that I started, I realized I did it for like 3 years, and I was like, it would have been cheaper for me to take an around the world trip, not work at all, and just to have traveled and had a great time for those 3 years. It would have cost me less money than it did to run this business for 3 years.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, everybody has this idea that they're going to go into business in themselves, the romance of the business. But I can tell you, and this is through working with really successful business owners for 25 years, the height of the excitement of being a business owner, the height of that excitement is the day before you open.
Right.
And every day after that, it goes downhill from the excitement standpoint. If you do it right, the financial side goes up. There's a lot of wonderful things about being an entrepreneur as a business owner. but that initial excitement that you have the day before you open is never as high as the day before you open, which
Right.
is kind of funny.
Well, that's where all the fun part is, right? Getting the, doing, just setting up the planning and, the idea stage and all that. That's where all the brainstorming and, there's a lot of energy around that. But then when you just start doing the day-to-day thing, and that's why my business failed, because it's like, God, this is boring.
That's the case. Listen, I love being a business owner. My hope is that my two kids develop the skills that come about that you get as becoming a business owner. And they've heard me say this a million times. I hope they become millionaires, not for what they can buy with the money, but for what they will become in the process of becoming a millionaire.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of those skills, because once you get the skills, that they can never be taken away, which is worth more than the money, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely true. I just want to go back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, is the idea of convincing a business owner to take a salary. And that's no small feat. And I know a lot of people, when, you have that conversation with them, they must be like, what, are you kidding me? I can't do that.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of the smaller business owners are not able to do that. But starting when they're small, by taking some dollar, I mean, they may not necessarily be able to take a salary day one, but they really should try sometime in the first, 1 to 3 years of getting on some, no matter how small it is, getting started with some type of salary to get some kind of consistent cash flow coming in.
Well, because I think part of that reason is that it starts you to feel like you have some, I want to phrase this the right way, but basically, if as soon as you start paying yourself, you're like, oh, look, I can go out to eat and not feel guilty, right? I mean, you're not stealing money from the business. This is money that's dedicated to you. This is how you can pay your bills, which you obviously have as a business owner. So it just puts you into a mindset where you're like, oh, I'm making money. I'm paying myself. I must be making money. And that, I guess this is a question I can ask you. How important do you think mindset is in this whole, in this whole interaction that you have with your clients?
It is really big, because everybody's thinking thoughts, and what is their mindset? Is their mindset, getting clarity? Is their mindset to become financially independent? Is it just to accumulate stacks of $100 bills? Is there, for whatever reason, just to support family? Understanding mindset and understanding goals and objectives is really the most important part in the initial phase of doing planning.
Yeah. And how does this tie into your book? Are those sort of the three chords? How does that sort of does that kind of tie in with this conversation that we're having?
It does. So the three chords approach to life and wealth management is basically a concept and an idea around the three most important areas of a business owner's life. And if you think about it, all business owners have these are the three most important pieces. And number one is their family and their close relationships, the people that are closest to them, whether it be blood relatives, non-blood relatives, but the people that are closest to them. So the relationships being the first chord. The second chord is that's probably most important to them is their business, right? They want to be successful in business. They want to have a successful cash flow, accumulate assets, and and have freedom, and all the things that a successful business can actually provide. And the third is themselves as an individual. The third chord represents themselves, and that's how they treat themselves: diet, health, exercise, wellness, professional development, personal development, community contribution, things that tie in with things that you really you have to influence yourself, right? So doing push-ups is something that can help oneself, right? A business owner, you can't hire somebody to do push-ups for you, right?
Too
So
bad.
things that you can't hire or delegate to anybody else ties in with self, right?
Yeah.
Close relationships with family and friends. You can't hire somebody to say, listen, I want to have a better relationship with my sister, friend, cousin, uncle, brother, whoever. I'm going to pay you. You go do that and report back to me and let me know how it went. So self ties in with all the things that are primarily done by yourself.
And does that tie in with you? I'm thinking before when you were talking about that this is one of your core values. Do you help your clients to identify their own core values, or is that kind of homework?
We do, through in conversations with our clients, we want to understand what makes them tick, and understanding one's values does help us. And a lot of times you can ask people what their values are, and they can't even tell you that. But they do have values. We all have values, whether they're written down or not, is another story. But you can kind of figure out what one's values are based upon the actions that they have taken, that they take. Right. So if you see somebody that that's willing to rearrange their work schedule for their family, that family is probably higher up on the spectrum. If somebody doesn't show up to anything that's family related and just goes to the client appointments, families, if not, may not even be on the top 5 list of values. Somebody that is constantly abusing their body through drugs, alcohol, smoking, wellness is probably not an important value. So yeah, doing a values exercise with clients helps us understand where they're coming from, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then it helps to define where their financial priorities should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. So do you have a sort of ideal client, or do you like to be with people at a certain phase of their journey, or who do you love working with? What kinds of clients do you love working with?
I love working with clients. So my favorite type of client to work with are first generation millionaires. These are people that didn't come from lots of wealth, but went to work over the course of 20 or 30 years, and they made the money through grit and through persistence, and just keeping on it. These are also people that care about their family and friends, and they care about their community, that they're kind, generous, wonderful people. Those are the people that I like working with most. Yeah, that pretty much gives you the avatar.
Absolutely. So if you're like that,
So if you're like
the
that,
link to connect
yeah,
with Rocco.
exactly. That's we want to talk to you.
So how does it look, Rocco, when somebody finds you? I mean, where are they in general in their financial life? Are they are you starting right away with them, or they often come to you when they're already made some mistakes or some wins?
They usually come to us. They're like late stage business owner people. They're people that they're not startups, but they're not about to sell. They're probably somewhere in the 10 years or less of selling their company. They've done some really good things. They've also made some bad mistakes, and they're people that are really good at delegating to other people, and they're people that really genuinely want to do the best they can, whatever they're actually going to do.
Yeah.
And so that's the group that we like working with the most.
Nice. And how do you, when somebody comes to you, what does it look like in the beginning? How do you help to kind of get your arms around what this person is going to need from you?
Well, we ask them a lot of questions, and we try to really get an understanding of who they are personally and professionally. Like what is it that they really want for themselves and their family? That's kind of the first step. And then we obviously ask them to gather up all of their assets and income and expense information. And going through this process, we learn a lot about the clients. The clients learn a lot about us. And by the time we're done with the analysis and proposing recommendations for solutions to help them, they usually have an idea of whether they want to work with us or not. And that's usually the way that it works.
Yeah. And how do you feel your firm is different than another firm that they could potentially choose? What is like your superpower, I guess, is the question.
I would say our unique ability is the ability to relate really well with others. We are empathetic. Empathy is one of the things that we because nobody's perfect, and we work with some really financially successful people that may have made some really bad mistakes in their personal life with their significant others, their kids, and they want to make things right. And so we don't judge people based upon what they may or may not have done in the past. What we're most focused on is what people want to do for themselves today and into the future.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. So you told me before we got started that you're actually writing some more books. And so do you feel this way when you wrote your first book? Were you like giving birth to a child? You're like, wow, that was really hard, but now you want to do it again.
Oh yeah, it was really hard. It took me 7 years. Should never have taken me 7 years. The book is like 165 pages, but it took me 7 years. But I got it done.
Yeah.
And you're right. I've never birthed a child, but I've witnessed it, but I've never done it. And you're right. It's very difficult, very challenging, and but once you actually do it, you're like, you know what, I can do this again. And so I'm working on basically a revision to the first one. And then the other two are new ones, which I'm really excited about.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. It's, I wrote a book myself and I felt that it was, a lot of it was every so often it would hit me that like other humans were going to read this thing. And I was just like, oh my God, like what if they, so I just kept rereading it and rewriting it and, giving it to more and more people to like edit. And I was just like, stop it, just stop it.
Yeah.
Let it go.
You're right. You just got, it's because you'd still be writing, so
Right.
it's at a certain point you have to say, I've done the best I can today. Let's move on. And I can always revisit this. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I don't even want to go back to it. It was suggested that I go and, read it on YouTube or whatever, so that people can listen to it as an audiobook or have it done as an audiobook. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to open it right now. I'm just not quite ready to open
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I tell you that writing a book and having it create an impact on people's lives is really cool. I was actually funny story here. I went to see a dermatologist a couple months ago. And so I'm at the dermatologist. The doctor comes in and is looking at me and said, "Hey, are you that the same guy that wrote that book, The Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And he was like, I loved your book, and it really had a great impact on my life. And I got to tell you, that really it made my day so much. Where somebody that reads something you did, and for it to have an impact on them is there's like nothing better than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you think you're most proud of do you have a story of something that happened, I guess, besides the book? Because we know that's also a fun thing, but where you really felt like, oh man, because this person met with me or because this thing happened. It could even be like a volunteer thing, something that you just feel like, wow, I'm really, I suppose as a parent, is it your kids?
There's a lot of things that I'm really proud of, right? So I'm really proud of my parents for immigrating to America and giving me an opportunity here to do whatever I wanted to do in life, right? To see opportunity here in the greatest country in the world, right? To say, okay, well, there's not, you think about all the amazing places around the world, but there's only one that you really could go to that you can be anything you want.
Yeah.
My parents come from Italy, and Italy's not, Italy is a, modern day country.
Yeah.
But in the southern parts of Italy, based upon who you're born to, it's pretty much the type of work that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's
what part of
very
Italy were they
common.
from?
The southern part, the Basilicata region. So you're kind of limited to that. We've had friends that have come from the region and family members, and they come to the office in Southampton. They say, because we have the same background, right? Saying the only difference is that I got lucky based upon my parents coming to America. Being born in America is like a lottery ticket.
Yeah, it's true.
So really proud of that. Really proud of my family, my wife, my kids. Really proud of my team, my office team here. Got an amazing group of people that I work with. Proud of my clients. so there's a lot for me to be thankful and proud of. But let's say the one thing that I'm probably most proud of is, is probably that I was, my ability to be resourceful. And so, growing up with parents that English was their second language, they didn't read or write. I had to figure out a lot of things on my own as a kid. And as hard as it was, and as frustrating as it was during that time, like basically figuring out all these different things, it actually, while as terrible as it was then, it's really helped me become the resourceful person now. And now I can help other people through basically becoming resourceful, because I had to become resourceful. So
Yeah.
that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of in life.
Yeah. It's true, because that's probably a lot of what gave you that entrepreneurial seed to go off and, why you're not working for Edward Jones or something, I mean, not to pick on Edward Jones, but right. I mean, you said, I can do this. I can figure out how to do it. I'm going to make this work. And you give the same gift to your clients.
Yeah, I guess we're all, if you think about it, entrepreneurs are really they're put into situations where they need to be resourceful. And I did have an upbringing of being resourceful. I mean, my parents were always there for me, but there were certain things they just couldn't help me with. So I had to figure it out.
Well, and that's kind of the best of both
I wasn't
worlds, right?
figuring
Because
out
you
good.
you've got that love and support, but also, you've got to jump off from there and do more.
Oh, I remember, when the advent of the computers first came out, like in the early 90s, my parent, they worked so hard to be able to buy me the computer. Like, it was a big deal. They bought me a computer, and they just wanted me, they couldn't provide me with certain resources, but they're like, okay, we can't help with this, but we can actually do this. We can work hard. We can accumulate some funds. We can get him a computer wherever he takes it. So it's been really a interesting journey through life, and we all get the opportunity to do whatever we want in this country. It's just it's whether people decide to do it or not, right?
Absolutely true. That is absolutely true. You can go out on the street any day of the week and hear people complaining about the government and complaining about this, but they don't have that opportunity to see what it's actually like everywhere else.
It is, we can complain as much as you want, but it is, we might right now we might be the best house in the worst neighborhood, right? You think about, but it's not up to the president. It's not up to who's doing what. It's up to yourself. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like we're kindred spirits, Rocco. I feel like we could probably have a big, long conversation about gratitude and, positivity and,
I hear you.
entrepreneurship.
Are you from Massachusetts or the New England area?
I am.
Yeah, I heard your accent. I love people from New England.
No, you have the accent.
Yeah, exactly. I've got the Long Island, New York accent, and you have what part of Massachusetts or of New England are you from?
I actually grew up in New Hampshire. Right
New
now,
Hampshire.
Yeah, that's the majority of my time as a youth.
I love New Hampshire.
It's beautiful, beautiful country,
beautiful state,
beautiful part of the country. But and I had a lot more of an accent. It actually got beaten out of me when I was young and traveling. When I first started working, I would travel for work, and I'd be in Kansas and places in the Midwest, and they just couldn't understand when I would drop my R's all the time. They just didn't know what I was talking about.
I'm so sensitive to hearing it. And so I do like it. My daughter's looking at colleges up in New England. And so we've been spending more time up there. So yeah. we were up in New Hampshire. We went to see Dartmouth. We've been seeing all these different schools up there.
Well, let me know the next time you're in the area, because I'd love to buy you lunch to thank you for being on the podcast.
I definitely will let you know.
Excellent. So Rocco, what do you wish I would have asked you? Like, what's a question that you really want to share the answer to that I just haven't touched on?
What would you say that, of all your listeners that you have, what would you say the number one thing that is the most common challenge that the listeners may have that listen to your show?
I think it's actually stepping out of the W-2 world and becoming, you've got this dream of being an entrepreneur, but actually saying goodbye to your regular job and your regular steady paycheck and walking off into the abyss is probably the hardest thing that they deal with. And then those first few years, once you do that.
My advice to those, I would say that, financially people really should, you can do it. Business owners are not born, they're created. And there's so much great content like your podcast and books and material that people should start to study. They should prepare themselves financially. So understand how much is their personal living expenses. So if it costs somebody, $30,000 a year for their basic minimum expenses, they should have a cash reserve in place of at least 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
They should have some credit lines that are set up. They need to make sure that they don't make bad decisions based upon not having the liquidity. A lot of business owners fail because their liquidity dries up. So that if they do that, they should develop a strategic plan, and they should make a commitment to themselves that no matter how bad it gets, that they'll never ever quit, never ever 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 quit, and just continue to push forward.
Yeah. And that is the secret, right? Persistence. And there is also, I would say, because as you were talking, I'm thinking about that fine line between scarcity mindset and over optimism.
Yeah. There is, it's funny because a lot of people say that to me. They say, Rocco, you never get rattled. You're always very calm. And I never get very excited about anything too much on the upside. And I don't really get bummed out too bad about things on the downside, because the truth is nothing is ever as great as you think it is. And nothing is never and things aren't as bad as you ever think they are.
Yeah.
So if you put a lot of things in neutral perspective, you'll never really be disappointed. That's been my life's lesson here with being a business owner.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I mean, the other thing I think is just, it's definitely going to take you longer than you think to be profitable, probably, right? So like you say, have that, if you've got that and you don't touch it, then you can ride that wave and you can stay the distance. Because if it takes you 2 years to become profitable, you walk away at 18 months, that's it. You wasted the time and the money, and you were so close to, like 3 feet from gold, if you will, to quote Napoleon Hill.
and the last piece is that, if again, any dollar that is collected, something needs to be kept for you. And I'm not talking about kept for you to cover your personal expenses. I'm talking about your profit. So you got to put some money away, even if it's 1 penny of every dollar, which represents 1%. Something you gotta save something every single dollar you collect first, and then pay everything else.
Yeah.
A lot of business owners don't do that, and so they would be better off working at the deli, making $40 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And you get health insurance and everything else. Like, hey,
there you go.
I used to say about myself, I work for myself, but my boss is a bitch.
That's so fun.
And that's the thing, like you get treated a lot better if you just work for someone else, but we can't, right?
Being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, I would tell all your listeners to do it. It's really, it's one of the greatest, I think it's in this country, not in all countries, but in this country, there's so many advantages. There's tax advantages. Yeah. There's time flexibility. The highest paid people in the world that have the most assets in the world are entrepreneurs. I can go on and on about it. Is it easy? No, but is it worth it? Yes. So I
agree 100%. Rocco, thank you so much for being with us today. I've loved talking with you. You're awesome.
Nice talking to you too, Christine. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so how can people buy the book and reach out and touch you and, connect with you? I mean, obviously this is going to be in the show notes, but if people are, wanting to do it right this second and they, whatever, they don't want to wait, tell us what to do.
They can go on to Amazon and pull up the book, The 3 Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management for Business Owners by Rocco Carriero. And they can get a book, and it's through Audible, Kindle, or through print version. Either way, they could check it out.
Excellent. Yeah. So as you're driving down the street right now, you can pull it up on your Audible. That's a great plan.
Yeah. It's my voice on it too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, listener, for listening. And while we've been talking, I think you've probably been thinking of some entrepreneurs who need Rocco's help, who would really benefit from having his unique perspective on being an entrepreneur, because so many financial planners, I feel like, don't really get it. and might even want to talk you into doing something else. So yeah, I think remember to forward this to them because they will really appreciate it. And I hope you will join us again next week when we'll have someone else cool and exciting, but maybe not as cool and exciting as Rocco. In the meantime, have a great week.